There's a secret that Rudolf Steiner dedicated his entire life to revealing and making explicit to humanity. A profound secret that would completely transform the way you understand your own existence, your own life, your own purpose on this planet, your own relationship with death and eternity. This secret is so disturbing, so radical, so profoundly different from the conventional view of reality that most people go their entire lives without ever coming close to truly understanding it. You've lived before, not just once, not just twice, countless times often. You have returned to this planet, this material world, this physical body, this incredibly specific drama of material life over and over again, carrying with you the absolute totality of your spiritual history, all the cumulative wisdom you have accumulated over the centuries, all the moral debt you have incurred, all the work you left unfinished in previous incarnations. And the reason you don't remember it, the reason you walk through this contemporary world as if it's the first and only life you've ever lived, is because there is a veil purposefully, deliberately, intentionally placed between your embodied consciousness and your higher spiritual knowledge, a veil between you and yourself. But Rudolf Steiner discovered something absolutely revolutionary. This veil can be torn. Your memory can be awakened. You can, through dedicated practice, through persistent exercise, through intentional and trained directing of consciousness, begin to recall not just vague or imaginative past lives, but the ultimate purpose, the fundamental meaning of all reincarnation itself. Rudolf Steiner was not an abstract philosopher who created speculative and imaginative theories without any real foundation in direct experience. He was a genuine spiritual initiate who had direct, verifiable, communicable access to the living records of spiritual reality. Through his rigorous and systematic training in spiritual science, through decades of disciplined meditation and conscious development of his spiritual faculties, he was able to penetrate and cross the impenetrable veil that separates us from the invisible spiritual world. And what he discovered was that reincarnation is not simply a mechanical, repetitive cycle where your soul randomly returns to your body over and over again to experience random, meaningless experiences. It is, rather, a deeply organized process, architected with absolute mathematical precision and unambiguous moral purpose. Each life you live, each incarnation your soul takes, is a specific chapter in a cosmic epic of continuous development of human consciousness. Each reincarnation is a necessary, intentional, significant step on your eternal journey of spiritual ascension and self-improvement. You return again and again over the centuries and millennia because there are specific lessons you must learn, there is specific work you must complete, there are particular aspects of your infinite soul that must be developed, cultivated, and integrated. When Steiner talks about reincarnation, he is not talking about a vague theoretical concept. He is describing a specific cosmic mechanism that he has directly observed through his rigorous spiritual investigation. He described how between incarnations, when a soul is out of the body, it goes through a process of complete review of everything it did in the previous life. You are in the spiritual world, the real world of which the material world is but a projection or a shadow, and you relive every moment of your previous life with absolute clarity, not just seeing what happened, but fully feeling the consequence of every action, every thought, every intention. Nothing can be rationalized, nothing can be denied or explained. You see with crystal clarity the connection between your actions and their results, between your thoughts and their manifestations, between your intentions and the suffering or joy you create for other people. And this process of absolute revision creates what Steiner called karma, not as punishment, but as a law of moral causality that operates throughout the cosmos. Action leads to consequences, thought leads to manifestation, intention leads to results, inevitably, no exception. No possibility of escape or denial. Then you understand, during this period in the spiritual world between incarnations, the lessons that you did not learn in your previous life. You clearly see the obstacles that you have not been able to overcome. You understand the relationships you left damaged or incomplete. And gradually, through this process of deep understanding, you develop the desire, not blind coercion, but conscious desire, to return. You want to return to try again. Do you want straight start to learn what you couldn't learn before? You want to return to fix what you left broken. You want to return to evolve beyond where you left off. And then you choose, consciously. You choose which era you return to. You choose which country, you choose which culture, you choose for which circumstance. You choose the parents who will provide the body you will use. You choose the geniuses and abilities you are born with. You even choose the traumas and sufferings you will face because you know that these sufferings are exactly what you need to evolve, beyond limitations that hold you back. Most people believe that past lives are merely historical curiosities. Oh, I was an Egyptian king, or a Tibetan monk, or maybe a prostitute in the Middle Ages. These people completely miss the point. The specific identity, the specific body, the specific life you lived in the past is significant only insofar as it represents the work you were doing at that time, the lessons you were learning, the obstacles you were overcoming. Steiner taught that each previous life you have lived has left its mark on you, a deep mark, a mark that shapes who you are today, a mark that continues to influence your psychology, your preferences, your innate talents, your seemingly undeserved hardships. The irrational fear you have of heights may come from a previous life where you fell. The extraordinary affinity you feel for a certain art or language may be from the concentrated work you did in that domain in a previous life. The people you feel magnetically attracted to or dramatically repelled by are often souls who have shared journeys with you in past incarnations, returning to complete unfinished work, to resolve unresolved conflicts, to deepen friendships already established over the centuries. But here's the best kept secret. You weren't always human. Before this series of human reincarnations, your soul went through earlier stages of development. You were mineral, you were a plant, you were an animal. The consciousness that now inhabits your human body has undergone eons of development in previous life forms, accumulating experience, developing capacity, preparing for the great work of being human. And it was no accident that you were finally born as a human. It was the result of aeons of development, of cosmic maturation, of his soul's readiness to face the tremendous responsibilities and opportunities that the human form offers. You are not an accident. You are not the product of chance and random natural selection. You are the result of a cosmic plan, of divine intention, of ordered and purposeful development across all forms of existence. And now that you are human, now that you have achieved this extraordinary level of consciousness and freedom, you face a choice that no animal or plant or mineral ever faces. You have the ability to be aware of your own development. You have the ability to actively participate in your own evolution. You have the ability to deliberately work on your own transformation. This is the great opportunity and the great responsibility of being human. Most people will live their lives without ever recognizing this opportunity. They will live reactively, responding to the events of their lives, driven by desires they do not understand, dominated by habits they have not consciously chosen. They will complete their incarnation and return to the spiritual world without having made any real progress in their personal evolution. They will then return in a new incarnation to try again. But there are those, and Steiner was one of them, who recognize the supreme opportunity to participate consciously in their own evolution. These people do not wait passively for life. They exercise their freedom. They cultivate your consciousness. They work deliberately on their transformation. And through this work, through this intentional practice, through this fierce dedication, they manage to do in one or two incarnations what would take other souls thousands of years to complete. They can dramatically accelerate their own development, and even more profoundly, they can begin to remember. They manage to pierce the veil that separates their incarnated self from their spiritual self. They can access knowledge from past lives. They can understand the pattern of their own soul's journey through time. They can see their own destiny. How does someone who genuinely wants to consciously evolve begin this extraordinary process of conscious reincarnation? Rudolf Steiner was extremely specific, remarkably practical, and absolutely clear about methodology. It's not magic. It does not involve psychedelic drugs or occult rituals or invocation of entities' esoteric data. It is, on the contrary, a wholly logical, wholly rational, wholly scientific process, although it is a science of spirit and consciousness rather than a materialistic science of matter and mechanism. It starts with meditation, but not the passive contemplative meditation that most people who call themselves meditators practice in the modern day, where you simply sit in silence, watch your thoughts flow randomly, and wait for something magical to happen. It is an active, intentional, highly structured meditation, where you deliberately cultivate specific, uplifting thoughts, where you direct your conscious attention in a disciplined way on ideas that elevate your consciousness above the ordinary and the mundane, where you train your mind to consistently dwell in higher spheres of reality. Steiner recommended beginning with what he called concentration meditations, taking a simple but profound spiritual idea, a powerful symbolic image, a profound truth about the nature of reality, and completely focusing your attention on it for an extended period of time, often 30 minutes or more. You bring this idea to mind, you consider it from every angle, you make it more and more alive in your consciousness, you allow it to work on you actively and deeply. This is not easy. The modern human mind has been deeply conditioned by modern materialistic culture to literally crawl along the ground of material reality, remaining trapped in immediate physical sensations, in mundane practical concerns, in selfish personal desires. To lift him above it, to free him from this prison of materialism, to train him to dwell consistently in high spiritual spheres, this requires tremendous, concentrated, disciplined effort. It requires genuine discipline. It requires conscious will exercised consistently. It requires voluntary renunciation of distractions and easy pleasures. But something extraordinary, unexpected, profound happens when you practice this Steinian meditation with true dedication, with consistency, with clear intention. Your consciousness begins to gradually expand. Your perceptions of the world begin to fundamentally change. You begin to notice synchronicities, significant correlations that you hadn't noticed before because your consciousness was so contracted. You begin to have hunches about the future, deep intuitions that often prove remarkably accurate. You begin to have insights into other people, deep understandings of their motivations and their inner being that seem to come from a wisdom you don't consciously know you possess. You begin to experience a sense of connection with something greater, with spiritual intelligences, with the entire cosmos as a living, conscious being. And occasionally, with enough practice, with enough dedication, with enough purification of your motives, you begin to have clear flashes of genuine past life memory, not imaginative visualizations generated by the unconscious, not fantasies created by a desire to be important, but true, verifiable, crystal clear memory. You find yourself in a different body, in a different historical time, in completely different circumstances, doing work that you intuitively recognize as your own work, facing lessons that you deeply recognize as your own lessons, solving problems that you intimately understand you need to solve. And when that happens, when you actually experience a clear, irrefutable memory from a previous life, something changes deeply, irreversibly in you. You will never again be able to see yourself as a creature of a single limited life. You will never again be able to ignore or deny the visceral reality of your own cosmic eternity. Rudolf Steiner identified and described that there are specific cycles, precise patterns that govern our development through multiple reincarnations throughout cosmic history. He discovered, through his direct spiritual investigation, that typically a soul returns to a new physical body every 1,000 to 1,500 years, approximately. This period of time is not arbitrary or random. It is not determined merely by coincidence or the lack of will of the cosmos. It is determined very precisely by the work that a specific soul needs to do during that historical period, by the specific obstacles that soul needs to overcome in relation to the development of the moment, by the specific wisdom that that soul needs to develop for its own improvement and for its contribution to the general development of humanity. During the time between incarnations, during this mysterious period we spend in the invisible spiritual world, we revisit our previous lives with absolute, inescapable clarity. We see every action we take, see every thought we had, every intention that was behind our actions. We understand the full consequences of our choices. Nothing can be hidden, nothing can be rationalized, nothing can be denied or explained. And then, gradually, we begin to understand, with crystal clarity, the full consequences of how we live. We begin to see with absolute transparency that we were not merely passive victims of circumstance, but active participants, creators, architects in creating our own experiences through our own choices, thoughts, and intentions. And this understanding, this complete integration of personal responsibility, this unfiltered view of our own contribution to what has happened in our lives, this fundamentally changes how a soul sees itself. This creates the renewed drive to return and try again, to do better, to grow beyond the limitations we have identified. And then, when the time came to return, when we were ready to work through new obstacles, to learn new lessons, to contribute in new ways to the development of humanity, we voluntarily chose to return. Yes, Steiner taught that reincarnation is a choice. You're not a puppet being pulled back against your will into a new life. You choose to return. You deliberately choose the body you will be born into. You choose the parents who will provide that body, because you know that those parents have exactly the genes you need to learn the lessons you need to learn in this life. You choose the country, the culture, the time in which you will be born. You choose the obstacles you will face. You even choose, on some deep level, the traumas you will suffer, because you know that those traumas are exactly what you need to grow. This is a truth that most modern people find absolutely impossible, intolerably difficult to genuinely accept. Did you, in this particular incarnation, choose to be born in a time marked by political turmoil? Did you consciously choose to have parents who were abusive, neglectful, emotionally unavailable? Did you voluntarily choose to be born with a physical or mental disability that would limit you throughout your life? Have you deliberately chosen to face trauma, poverty, discrimination? Not only does this seem impossible, it seems cruel, unjust, contradictory to the very concept of benevolent evolution. But Steiner was absolutely, inescapably clear about this, based on his direct observation of the spiritual world. The soul that reincarnates is not the small, fragmented, self-centered ego that you normally are when identified with the ordinary body and mind. It's not that small version of you that you identify as me when you think about yourself in a superficial way. The soul is vastly, incomparably greater, infinitely wiser, infinitely more compassionate than your ordinary personal ego could ever be. The soul is capable of understanding long-term lessons, cosmic patterns of evolution, purposes that span millennia that your small ego would literally be unable to comprehend with your ordinary rational powers. The soul can see, understand, embrace that a trauma apparent in youth is actually, in the larger context of a soul's journey of many centuries, an extraordinary opportunity. It's a sacred chance to develop genuine compassion. It's the chance to learn how to face extreme adversity with courage. It is the chance to discover, through hard struggle, resilience and inner strength that you would never have discovered in a life of comfort and ease. The soul knows, in a way that transcends any rational argument, that genuine spiritual growth never, under any circumstances, comes from passive comfort. It always, invariably comes from the direct encounter with real obstacles, the hard work to overcome them, the transformation that occurs through this overcoming. So here is the central secret, the absolute core of conscious reincarnation according to Rudolf Steiner. You are not a victim of your life, not in any deep, genuine sense. You are not someone to whom bad, unfair, random things happen while you are merely passive. You are someone who chose your life, all of her. You consciously chose your fundamental circumstances. You chose the people around you, your parents, your family, even the enemies that torment you. You chose the biggest challenges you face. You have chosen, at a deep level of your soul, the obstacles you need to overcome. This is not guilt. Guilt is unspecific, unproductive, toxic, and completely counterproductive. It's not about condemning yourself or suffering more. It's about genuine responsibility. It's about recognizing that you're not just a passive victim of circumstance, not just a random product of genes and luck. You are an active co-creator, a co-builder of your project-own life. And by recognizing this power fully, by integrating this truth deeply into your consciousness through meditation and spiritual practice, you gain immense power, gain genuine freedom. You gain the ability to work deliberately with your chosen circumstances rather than against them, rather than in denial of them. When you stop saying, "This happened to me," and start saying, "I chose this because I need to learn this," everything changes. Your relationship with difficulty changes. Your resilience changes. Your ability to find meaning even in suffering changes. Because you now understand that every obstacle is an opportunity you have carefully prepared for yourself, a chance to transcend, an invitation to evolve. Rudolf Steiner identified and described that there are very specific cosmic patterns, precise rhythms, cycles governed by higher intelligences that structure not only our lives across incarnations, but also within each individual life. Within an incarnation of approximately 70 or 80 years, there are specific periods of development, 7-year periods, when a person is particularly receptive to certain specific lessons and the development of certain particular skills and abilities. Steiner taught this through his careful observation of child and human development. The first 7-year period is about forming a healthy will and establishing appropriate behavior. This is when you, as a child, are learning what it means to follow instructions, understand consequences, develop basic self-discipline. The second 7-year period is about developing creative imagination, learning through image, story, symbol, and cultivating a healthy emotional relationship with the world. The third period is about developing abstract reason, ability to think logically, understanding intellectual causality. And so it continues throughout life. Each 7-year period presents specific developmental tasks, specific opportunities, specific lessons. Steiner taught that this 7-year structure is not accidental or the result of social convention. It reflects a fundamental cosmic pattern that governs all development at all scales, from the structures of molecules to the rhythms of civilizations. And it is precisely during these specific 7-year periods that a reincarnating soul is specifically, intentionally working on specific aspects of their own spiritual and psychological development. If you can recognize with some accuracy which 7-year period you are in now, if you can sincerely understand what specific lesson you are supposed to be learning in this particular period, you can work much more efficiently, much more in alignment with the cosmos, with the circumstances you encounter. If you feel like you are consistently hitting a wall in your professional development, if you find yourself repeatedly frustrated in career ambitions, it may well be because you are in a period when the real lesson that your own spiritual development requires is not about professional success, status, or worldly achievement, but about learning genuine compassion for those less fortunate, or developing genuine humility, or practicing acceptance of the things you cannot control. If you are experiencing intense emotional turmoil, if you feel like your relationships are falling apart, it may be because you consciously chose incarnately to go through this period to do deep and painful work of genuine emotional integration and true psychological healing. By deeply understanding that there is a purpose, a cosmic reason behind absolutely everything that is happening in your life, you dramatically change your fundamental relationship with your own experience. But there is a huge risk, a real risk, in talking about conscious reincarnation and cosmic responsibility without being absolutely explicit about a critical point that cannot be minimized. Reincarnation is not absolute determinism. You chose your fundamental circumstances. Yes, that is true. You chose to be born in a particular time, with certain parents, with certain obstacles. But you still have complete, irrefutable, non-negotiable freedom over how you respond to those circumstances you've chosen. You have a choice. You can be born into an economically difficult situation and use it as a supreme opportunity to develop resilience, creativity, and genuine compassion. Or you can use it as a permanent excuse to never grow up, to remain a victim for the rest of your life, to constantly blame circumstances for your own lack of development. You can be born with extraordinary potential for music, for art, for genuine creation, and dedicate your entire life to the artistic development of your unique capabilities. Yes, or you can completely waste that potential in distraction, in laziness, in refusing to do the necessary work. You can have a healthy body or a body that suffers from chronic illness, and in either case, you have a choice about how your soul responds to it, how you interpret it, how you integrate it into your development. Your fate is not predetermined in absolute detail. It is structured in general terms. Here are the big lessons you need to learn in this incarnation. Here are the fundamental obstacles you need to overcome. Here is the bigger work you need to do. But how you navigate through it, how you respond to the specific challenges you encounter, how you interpret your experience, how you grow or don't grow, that is entirely, absolutely free for you to choose. And this is precisely what makes conscious reincarnation so radically disturbing, so morally demanding, so revolutionary in its implications. It means that you can never again, in any genuine sense, blame circumstance. It means you can never say, I am this way because my parents were this way, or I am this limited because I was born into a poor family, or I am this way because I was born in this country, or I am this way because life has dealt me a particularly bad hand. There may be superficial truth to each of these statements on an immediate functional level, but on a deeper level, on a genuine spiritual level, you know that you chose all of this. You chose your particular parents because you know that their psychology, their genes, their specific emotional patterns, their style of loving, or their inability to love, their talents, their limitations, all of this comes exactly from you choosing these particular parents. And if you chose to be in a particular situation, in a particular economic class, in a particular country, at a particular time, you can choose to respond to it differently. You can choose to grow beyond the limitations you seem to be facing. You can choose to evolve beyond the familiar patterns that have been modeled for you. You can choose to transcend the limiting patterns, the paralyzing beliefs that you have inherited or learned or simply accepted as inevitable due to a lack of imagination or courage. Rudolf Steiner himself was an extraordinary, living, crystal-clear example of conscious reincarnation in action. He was not an abstract theorist talking about ideas he himself had never tried. He had direct, clear, verifiable memory of many of his own previous lives. He knew, not as speculation, but as visceral memory, that in a previous incarnation he had been a medieval alchemist, a spiritual seeker engaged in the great work, the work of turning the base into gold. And Steiner understood with profound spiritual clarity that this transformation was not literal, it was not about mundane chemistry. It was symbolic of something infinitely more significant. The transformation of ordinary human consciousness into enlightened consciousness, the transformation of the heavy lead of the ordinary ego into the spiritual gold of genuine wisdom. He knew that in another life he had been a monastic monk, devoted completely to deep spiritual work within a monastery. He knew that there were previous incarnations where he had failed to complete his work, where he had been captured by illusion and negativity, where he had lost his way in the darkness. But in all these lives, all these incarnations spread over the centuries, he was consistently working on an extraordinary long-term project. A project that spanned the centuries of his soul's journey. The project of bringing genuine spiritual teachings to modern humanity, of creating a living, functional bridge between the invisible spiritual world and the material world that we can perceive, of initiating a transformation of the Aquarian Age into genuinely conscious human evolution. Your entire life, your present life in this modern incarnation, has been dedicated to this cosmic work. He was not merely an intellectual. He was an apostle, an initiate, a dedicated worker in the great work of human evolution. Steiner taught that in our current era, the era in which we live, this specific period of human history in which you have chosen to incarnate, we are at a critical inflection point, a moment of cosmic crossroads for the evolution of humanity. Humanity has been asleep, numb, trapped in illusion for too long. We ignore the fundamental reality of reincarnation. We ignore the reality of the invisible spiritual world that exists alongside the physical material world. We get caught up in the illusion of materialism, the belief that only what is physical, material, measurable is real. And this illusion created immense suffering. It created alienation. It created a loss of meaning. It created empty lives, without proposition, without spiritual direction. But Steiner taught something extraordinary and hopeful. We have reached a point in human history where this illusion is beginning, slowly but inexorably, to disintegrate. People, in increasing numbers, are beginning to question. They're starting to look. They are realizing that there is no genuine satisfaction in materialism. They are searching for meaning, truth, spirituality. And there is an extraordinary opportunity, a cosmic window that is open now, for humanity to wake up en masse, to consciously understand the reality of their own eternal lives, to begin to consciously evolve as a species toward a far higher form of existence and consciousness. We are in the age of Aquarius now, according to Steinian teachings, and this age is characterized by the possibility of genuine spiritual freedom, of ever-widening access to spiritual mysteries, of unprecedented opportunity for the development of human consciousness. But, and this is critical, this opportunity won't last forever. There is a cosmic window, and that window is open now. For those alive in this time, there is an extraordinary opportunity that previous generations simply did not have. You can wake up now. You can understand now. You can begin your conscious evolution now, but the window will not remain open indefinitely. Those who squander this opportunity will have to wait centuries for a similar window. For Steiner, true conscious reincarnation is not merely about recovering fragmentary memory of past lives, although such memory is important and transformative as an experience. It's not about knowing the names and specific dates and identities you've had in other eras. That's a superficial understanding. Genuine conscious reincarnation is about understanding deeply, viscerally, that you're not merely a small, temporary me, incarnated in a physical body for a few years and then disappearing into nothingness. You are an eternal, indestructible, infinite entity. You are a soul that has always existed and will always continue to exist. You are a spiritual being who has taken physical form on this material planet many, many times over eons. And that soul has purpose. There is specific work to do. There are specific lessons to learn. It has a specific contribution to make to the continued development of humanity as a whole and to the evolution of the cosmos itself. And now, in this particular life, in this particular time, in this particular incarnation that you are living now, you have the extraordinary opportunity to work consciously, intentionally, with this greater purpose of your soul. You can wake up. You can remember. You can actively participate in your own evolution instead of simply letting evolution happen to you while you spiritually sleep. This is the opportunity. That's the invitation. This is the promise of conscious reincarnation. Conscious reincarnation, then, is not merely an interesting philosophy or an abstract metaphysical curiosity to be debated in intellectual conversations. It is a direct call for deep and genuine personal transformation. It is a powerful invitation to take full, unqualified responsibility for your life and development. It is a provocative challenge to stop living reactively, like a leaf in the wind, as a victim of circumstance, and start living intentionally, as a conscious creator of your experience. It is the revolutionary promise that you can know the fundamental truth, the absolute truth about who you truly are, not just in this temporary life, but throughout the infinite eternity of your existence as a spiritual being. And this truth, if you have the genuine courage to seek it, if you are willing to do the difficult work of meditation and self-development, has the power to completely transform not just how you see yourself in your own life, but how you live your life on this planet, how you interact with other people, how you understand your own destiny and your own cosmic purpose. Because once you truly know, integrate, understand that you chose to be here, in this particular incarnation, at this particular time, in this particular body, with these particular circumstances. Once you genuinely understand that there is deep purpose behind absolutely everything that is happening in your life. Once you see with crystal clarity that you are an active co-creator of your own experience, rather than just a passive victim of it, everything radically changes. Your relationships change in quality and depth. Your choices change because you now act from genuine awareness rather than automatic reactivity. Your willingness to face challenges, to embrace difficulties, to work through suffering changes because, and you understand now that every obstacle is a deliberately created opportunity. Your compassion for others fundamentally changes because you understand that those people who hurt you, who frustrate you, who seem to be your enemies, are also on their own eternal journeys of evolution, also have chosen their own special challenges and difficulties, are also trying to learn their own specific lessons. And even more profoundly, your understanding of your own death changes completely, radically. Because, not just intellectually, but viscerally, that death is not the end of everything. Death is not the negative black vacuum. Death is just a necessary transition. It's a well-deserved rest. It is a sacred time of deep review and complete reflection of what you have experienced. And then, when you are ready, when you have had enough rest, when you have sufficiently learned the lesson that life offered, you will return. You will return voluntarily, consciously, purposefully. You will return because there is even more extraordinary work to be done. There are even more vital lessons to be learned and integrated. There are even more aspects of your infinite eternal potential to be developed, cultivated, realized, and brought into manifestation. Conscious reincarnation is not just the factual truth about who you once were in past ages. It is the living truth about who you will still be in the ages to come. It is the absolute promise of eternity. It is the understanding that you will never die, never disappear, never cease to be. And that promise, once truly understood, truly felt, truly integrated into your being, changes absolutely everything about how you choose to live your life now. The secret of conscious reincarnation, then, is that it is at once a factual truth about who you are, an existential responsibility about how you live, and an infinite promise about who you can still become. It is not merely an interesting spiritual curiosity. It's not just a philosophy to debate. It is a living, functioning reality that will fundamentally change how you live your life if you have the courage to truly accept and integrate. Rudolf Steiner dedicated his entire life, indeed all of his lives, to revealing this secret to humanity. And now, the truth he revealed is available to you. The question is simple. Will you have the courage to wake up? Will you be willing to face complete responsibility for your own life? Will you choose to consciously participate in your own eternal evolution? The answer you give to these questions will determine not only the rest of this incarnation, but the course of your future lives over the centuries to come. Through the dedicated, uninterrupted, consistent practice of Steinian meditation, through the conscious, deliberate cultivation of your own genuine spiritual development, through the ever-increasing willingness to face the deep and disturbing truth about who you are and why you're here on this planet, you can begin to awaken from your spiritual slumber. You can start to recall your past lives. You can begin to understand the vast, cosmic pattern of your own soul's journey through the centuries and millennia. And when you reach that extraordinary point, when you have truly integrated this transformative reality into your living consciousness, when you stop living as if you were just a temporary body and begin living as the eternal soul that you truly are, your life will change radically in every aspect. Your priorities will fundamentally change. Your relationships will completely transform. Your work in the world will change in purpose and meaning. You will no longer be trying to accumulate wealth or social status under the illusion that it will satisfy you and make you happy. You will be consciously focused on learning the specific lessons you came to learn in this incarnation. You will be completely dedicated to doing the particular work you came to do at this time. You will be consciously working to evolve, to develop aspects of yourself that require development, to prepare for even greater future incarnations, where you can make an even greater contribution to the ongoing evolution of humanity. This is the life of someone who truly understands and lives conscious reincarnation. This is the life of genuine spiritual greatness, of true cosmic meaning, of purpose that transcends any worldly ambition. You are immortal. You are eternally alive. You have always existed, and you will always continue to exist through all ages to come. This is not just a religious belief or a pious hope. This is the truth that Rudolf Steiner revealed and documented through his rigorous and systematic spiritual investigation. And this truth, when truly understood, genuinely integrated, consciously seen life, this truth has the absolute power to free you completely from the prison of fear and illusion, free you from the paralyzing fear of death, free you from deep existential anxiety, free you from the destructive illusion that your life doesn't matter, that you are just a random speck in a fundamentally indifferent and meaningless universe. You matter enormously. Your life matters infinitely. Every action you take, every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every choice you make, it all has genuine cosmic consequence. All of this directly contributes to the continuous evolution of the cosmos itself. You are an integral part of a great work, the great work of transforming raw matter into living spirit, of raising human consciousness from its present stage to higher stages of development, of bringing spiritual heaven to material earth. And you have been chosen, by your own eternal soul, to participate in this great work in this particular age, this critical epoch of human transformation. This is the ultimate truth that Rudolf Steiner wants you to understand. You've lived before, but you've forgotten why. You have returned to this planet many times, but you have lost memory of your purpose. The window is now open to awakening. The opportunity is here to remember. You can, through practice, dedication, genuine spiritual work, recover this memory. You can know the truth about who you really are. And when you truly integrate this truth into your being, you will become that for which you were truly made, a conscious being, a co-creator of your own reality, an active participant in the great work of human and cosmic evolution. Don't wait for the next incarnation. Do not postpone this awakening. Start now, meditate, search, question, and find in yourself the eternal truth that has always been there, just waiting to be remembered. Accept this invitation. Wake up from your spiritual sleep. Remember who you really are. Live consciously, deliberately, intentionally, and live with absolute clarity that you are eternally, permanently, irrevocably important to the entire cosmos. The final truth that Rudolf Steiner revealed is simple but profound. You have lived before, but you have forgotten why. The truth about who you are, where you came from, where you're going, that truth is waiting inside, just waiting to be remembered. Through sincere meditation, through genuine searching, through a willingness to face the reality of your own eternity, you can recover this truth. And when you recover, when you finally fully wake up, everything changes. Your life, your purpose, your meaning, everything is revealed in its fullness. You're not here by chance. You're not a cosmic accident. You are here because you chose to be here. You are here because there is work you must do. You are here because humanity needs you, your special contribution, your eternal wisdom. That's the secret. That is the teaching. That is Rudolf Steiner's call to you today.